In 1878, Newton Heath LYR was formed by Lancashire and Yorkshire railway workers looking to let their hair down with a weekly game of football. The matches became slightly more competitive when they joined the Football League in 1892. However, by the turn of the century, they'd already been relegated to the second division. Plagued with financial problems from day one, Newton Heath looked destined for early extinction until local brewery owner John Henry Davies put up some much-needed cash in return for an interest in the club. This led to a name change, and after Manchester Central and Manchester Celtic got the thumbs down from members, everyone agreed on Manchester United. After returning to the First Division, they started their trophy haul by winning the championship in 1907-08. In 1908, they also won their first Charity Shield, beating QPR 4-0. The following year, they continued their winning streak by taking home their first FA Cup, beating Bristol City 1-0 in the final. With form on their side, things looked bright for Manchester United. Now they needed a decent home ground. Building commenced in 1908 with the help of architect Archibald Leach, and by 1910 the club had moved from their old home at Bank Street to their new ground, Old Trafford. The first game played at Old Trafford was on February the 19th, 1910, where United were defeated by visitors Liverpool 4-3 in a thriller in front of 80,000 cheering fans. Their new home paid immediate dividends when they clinched the league championship for the second time in 1910-1911. That victory turned out to be the last thing the Manchester United fans had to cheer about for a long time. In the lead-up to the First World War, they suffered such poor form that they were almost relegated to the second division. The decline in form continued when football resumed after the war. Man United hit rock bottom in the 1921-22 season when they won only 8 out of 42 games and endured relegation to the second division for the second time in their history. After 3 seasons in the lower division, the Red Devils finally made it back to the first division at the end of the 1924-25 season. However, without any real superstars in their ranks, Man United continued to struggle, finishing 15th, 18th and then 12th in the closing years of the decade. The 1930s saw no improvement at Old Trafford. In fact, things got worse. Those fans who'd celebrated the upturn at the beginning of the century were now faced with some of the most challenging times in the club's history. At the end of the 1930-31 season, Manchester United ended up with 27 losses after conceding 115 goals. Yet another relegation to the second division rubbed salt into their gaping wounds. With supporters refusing to witness another miserable loss, the first game of the following season attracted just 3,507 die-hard fans to Old Trafford. The situation only got worse as the season wore on, and by December 1931, Manchester United could not afford to pay their players. This time, their knight in shining armour was a businessman named James Gibson, who made his money making army uniforms. Thanks to his injection of £30,000, Man U made a last-ditch attempt to dig themselves out of trouble. It turned out to be a long, hard roller coaster. It took 3 long seasons to drag themselves back up to the First Division in 1935-36. The following season, they found themselves relegated again, only to be promoted the season after. In 1938-39, they finally achieved some stability and held on to their spot in the First Division as football was once again halted by the outbreak of the Second World War. In 1986, Alex Ferguson was signed to Manchester United. The new manager at Old Trafford had won every prize that Scotland had to offer at his former club, Aberdeen, and the Red Devils were keen for him to repeat his winning ways at the Theatre of Dreams. After a slow start, Ferguson claimed the 1989-90 FA Cup. Then, in 1992-93, the inaugural season of the new Premier League, United won the League Championship. for the first time since Busby had pulled it off in 1966-67. Over the next 7 years, Ferguson's United won 5 out of a possible 7 league championships, including 3 FA Cups and the elusive treble in 1998-99. Manchester United were once again the dominating side of the competition, and a new dynasty was born.
Where did you get that? On your feet.